finding a sport that becomes a way of life, finding something which becomes your main focus, traveling the world because of fitness. Is this something which has happened to so many people since Hyrox burst onto the scene in 2017? Hello and welcome to On the Rocks podcast with me, Coach Marshy. Hope everyone is doing really well and enjoying this world of hybrid fitness that we find ourselves in. So, really excited about today's guest. Let's welcome him into the show. Hello, Paul. How are you, Paul?
Neil, I'm good. Thank you for inviting me on. Really looking forward to this.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about asking you some questions. So I'm going to dive straight in with that, and I'm just going to ask you this question. Let's address it, that last bit of that intro there, where, you know, people's lives, have they changed because of Hyrox? Has it had a massive impact on them?
Yeah. And I say that so confidently because I speak for myself first and foremost. And Hyrox came around at the perfect time for me personally. And I always talk about how it's changed my life for the better. And because of that, I've then been able to impact other people's lives that have then shared their stories and again have told me how Hyrox and various other fitness racing platforms that they've been involved with have changed their lives from a very positive way. There's a lot of people that were in a bad place from the back of COVID. There was a lot of people that struggled and still do struggle with mental health. There was people that were drinking too much. There were people that were letting social media kind of overtake their lives. And there was a lot of people that kind of just thought that this was it now, like this is what life was going to be like, and they didn't really have a purpose. And I think that's what Hyrox has given a lot of people, is a purpose to live their life again and to introduce them to people that they never thought would walk into their lives. And some of the, like you've seen it as well yourself, some of the friendships that have been forged now through being involved in this amazing sport is just incredible. And for me, I've found some of the greatest people that I've ever met in my life in the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, no, and I would completely, I hear everything you're saying, and I think there'll be many sort of listening and watching that agree, and I'll echo that in that, you know, the friendships that have been forged and the people that you have come across and met. You know, we've met a few times, and I think my business is a fitness business that's been going for 11 years now. And the introduction of the hybrid world, if you like, has completely changed it for the better. Everything we stand for and do anyway is still in place. But as an addition to that, this has completely like changed it for us. And I hear everything you're saying, and I'm gonna dive into that. Before we do though, just tell us a little bit about who you are. Sort of, you know, people might know you from Hyrox, and you'll have met a lot of people at Hyrox. Tell us a bit about what your role within that is and who you are in that space and what you do sort of every day.
Yeah, so I've been in the fitness industry now since 2005. So just, I think it's about 18 and a half years, if my maths is correct. And I got involved in the industry because I wanted to make a difference to other people's lives. I wanted to help as many people as I could become fitter, stronger, happier and healthier versions of themselves. During that time, I've worked with many, both professional and amateur sports teams and individuals. I've run my own businesses. And I've also coached and trained hundreds of like everyday people like you and me. And I saw Hyrox, and I think it was the summer of 2021. Saw someone post something on social media and loved the look of it. Like, didn't really kind of pay too much attention to the running part because I wasn't a runner at all back then. Kind of ignored the fact that half the race was running, but just loved the concept of what it was. And so I got involved. I think my first race was October 2021. I've now completed, I think it's 37 races. I think Nice is going to be my 38th. and I've been
Wow.
part of the UK ambassador team now for the past 2 seasons, which again is something that I'm extremely proud to be part of, because there's, as you know, again, like the UK is such a huge market, and to be chosen by the Hyrox UK team to be one of their ambassadors is, as I said, is something that I'm extremely proud of, and it's something that I'll always kind of take very seriously.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And, you know, I think the ambassadors that they have, I've been lucky enough to speak to at least one other one. And, you know, I think the fact they've done that and who they pick and how they pick them is obviously their own process. But, you know, you're someone we met because of that representation. And I think the way you take it seriously, my team got to meet you because of that, and it's worked out really well for all of us. You know, we've all struck up this relationship where we see each other at all the events, and you know, it's always see that familiar face when you're going into those competitions. And you know, we have loved sort of that idea that, oh yeah, we'll bump into Paul when we're there. You know, it's a nice feeling. So, and I think Hyrox has created that community. So let's talk about your journey, but I'm gonna go right back to what you said at the beginning there. And you sort of said, starting with yourself, how Hyrox has helped you and changed your life. Do you want to unpack that for us? But go right before you got into Hyrox, talk about that and why you got into Hyrox.
So, yeah, I mean, so again, like I had this conversation with someone like earlier on today, a new client that we've just taken on that lives in, I think he's in Bahrain. And I said to him that I've always been someone that always wants the best for everyone else and always puts everyone else first. And, you know, if someone messaged me about, can you write me a program? I'm going to the gym tomorrow, I'd write them a program. And if someone wanted help with their nutrition and wanted a diet plan, I'd write them it, you know, just off the cuff. I've been doing it for so long now that it becomes second nature to me. But again, like during lockdown, it was tough for everyone, and I'm not kind of saying that I had it any tougher for anyone else. I mean, if I'm being honest, it was probably good for me, and we can talk about why it was good for me later on from what I did the year before. But during lockdown, I kind of like just had the time to kind of bring myself home, and I worked on myself a lot. Like I trained at home on my own, like everyone else. I got myself into a great shape. But I didn't have any kind of direction of where I wanted to go after that, because like no one really knew what was going to go on. No one really knew when the world was going to open again. No one really knew if the gyms were going to go back to how they used to be. And like, as well as fitness, one of my biggest passions in life is travel. So to be able to kind of do one but not the other was okay. But I really missed like not being able to travel as much as I did in 2020 and 2021. So again, when Hyrox kind of came about and I started looking into it, and I looked at the opportunities that could come of it from a fitness point of view and also a travel point of view, it was just a win-win for me. And I've now seen, or I've now been to so many places that I never ever dreamt of going, but because Hyrox was there, I went. And I look back at some of the places I've been to, and they've been some of the most memorable times and some of the most memorable weekends that I've ever been on. And like Hyrox now has become such an important part of my life. It's like everything I do at the moment is kind of based around that sport, whether it's from an athlete point of view, eating, drinking, sleeping, training, getting ready for the next race, or from a coaching point of view and getting someone else ready for their next race. It's kind of like I'm living and breathing it at the moment. I take time out, but it's busy. But it's a good busy. It's not a stressful busy. It's not a boring busy. I never get up in the morning and think to myself, oh, I've got to do that again today. It's become like my profession. That's the way that I look at it now. Is like, even though I don't class myself as a professional athlete, this is my profession and it's what I choose to do, and I absolutely love doing it.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting to hear. And actually, I feel very similar to you. Obviously, you've been here to my gym and seen what we do every day. But I feel the same. I feel like a lot hinges each day on how I'm going to train and how I'm going to get back into shape. I mean, for me, it has saved me literally in terms of my sport. I was the sportiest guy, back in 2017. I was sporty and I was doing Ironman, I was doing ultra marathons, but now Hyrox has given me that thing that actually suits me the best. I love functional fitness and I love running. So it works for me. And I wake up in the morning and I agree with you. And it's nice to speak to someone that actually has that feeling, because, that feeling of getting up to tell someone that I don't find it hard to get out of bed because what I'm about to go and do is something I really enjoy and want to do. To someone who's working in a mundane job, that's really hard. And you must find that when you speak to individuals as well.
Do you know what? I put something on my stories yesterday, funnily enough, and I think it said something like people should be doing more of what they love doing rather than being told what to do that brings them down.
Yeah.
And sometimes that kind of takes a little bit of time for people to sink in, like what that actually means. But people have got choices, and change is never easy, but sometimes change is necessary. So if people are in a position where they don't like what they're doing at the moment, whether that's a job, whether that's a relationship, whether that's like a life situation, you've got to reassess what's going on. And I think that if anything, like to come out of COVID is that health should be everyone's number one priority. And like everything that I do now myself is always based around that healthy living, healthy lifestyle, and not this kind of 100-mile-an-hour being part of a rat race.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to look at it. And I think you're right. And I think to post something like that's really important because, with the rat race, as you say it, I just meet people all the time that are on that rat race. They're constantly on it, that hamster wheel, chasing it, and they're not really going anywhere. So whereas Hyrox does give more to life. And you mentioned when we agreed to do the show, you talked about 2019, and you highlighted that earlier just now about before 2021 and before 2020 in lockdown. You didn't explain at the time. So it'd be good to understand if that led to this moment as well, and what changed for you.
Yeah. So again, I know when we had the initial conversation, you kind of asked me if I'd ever told my story as such, because everyone's got a story, haven't they? Like, regardless of who you are, regardless of what job you do, regardless of what profession you've got, like everyone's got a story. And I've shared it to a degree, and I think I shared it once before, but I'm not someone that kind of really dwells on the past. For me, it's always kind of eyes looking forward and kind of getting up with each day as it comes. But it was the back end of 2018. So I got married in 2017. 2017. Back end of 2018, found out that my now ex-wife was having an affair. And it kind of came from nowhere, if I'm being honest. We was only together since 2015. For those, I'm going to kind of go back a little bit more as well. So this is going to kind of be a bit all over the place. But for those that know me, like when it comes to my private life, I am extremely private. I'm a very private person. I'm a very hard book to read, as people kind of say. But I was single before I met my now ex-wife for probably about 4 years, because the girl that I was with before that, again, we had a great relationship when we were together, but then found out that she had an affair. When we split up, found out that she had multiple affairs, to the point that she told me that she had a miscarriage when in fact it was a planned abortion because it wasn't mine. So that was quite hard to take.
Bloody hell, yeah.
So yeah, and that was, I think that was I don't know, 2012, something like that. So then, as I said, I met my now ex-wife in 2015. We got together, got married in 2017, got a house together, and then the back end of 2018, so just over a year after being married, found out that she was having an affair with her boss at work. So my initial reaction was to kind of take myself away from the situation, because he was married at the time as well. And I didn't want this to be a four-way thing. I just kind of stripped myself back from it, said that I'll walk away, but I'm not prepared to kind of upset my family at that time of the year coming into Christmas. So I didn't even tell anyone what had happened. Just got on with it. And at the time, I had an online wine business. I had an online wine club, so the house was full of wine. Now, I never drank to get drunk. For me, I enjoyed a glass of wine when I was relaxing in the evenings, but there was some times where I was getting through like 10 bottles of wine a week. And I know that's not good from a health point of view at all.
Yeah.
But I'd get up every day and I'd go to work every day and I'd train every day. But that was the cycle that I was in. I'd get up, I'd go to work, I'd eat, I'd do what I need to do. I'd get home and I'd drink like a bottle of wine during the week. And at the weekends, I'd double up. And I did that for quite a while. So coming into 2019, I moved out. And 6 weeks later, my nan sadly passed away. Now, I still to this day think that because of that event, it kind of helped me to kind of come to terms with all the shit that was going on with my marriage breakup. My nan was the last grandparent that we had. She's always the closest one that we've been to. My granddad died in 1989, so to have her on her own for that many years was tough. But she was always such a great person to be around. So it really hit my mum, and it really hit like me as well, because every Sunday I'd go over and see my nan, and it wasn't until like she got dementia a few years before that I stopped going over there, just because she didn't really know what was going on. Anyway, I decided 2019 I needed a year of change. I needed a year out for me. I needed a year to work on myself. I was probably 20 kilos heavier than what I am now. Still active in the fitness industry, still an active personal trainer, still an active fitness professional, but health wasn't great. And so between January and the March, I kind of put myself on a 6-week plan, lost just under 2 stone, which was great for me because, again, as many people know, if you lose weight and you kind of feel better in yourself and you look better in yourself, your confidence is going to go up a little bit. From there, I took myself to Los Angeles, went away for 5 days. And again, like I said to myself that this is going to be my year. Like I'd stopped personal training for the whole year. And what I did is I went and worked with a couple of guys like labouring, doing extensions and doing like driveways and just being manual labouring as opposed to having to talk to loads of other people, because at the time I just didn't want to do it. I just wanted to be around the boys. I just wanted to have a laugh and a joke. And I just wanted to get on with my life. But I set my alarm for 4:50 every day, Monday through till Friday. I set my alarm for 4:50 and I walked an hour to the gym, Monday through till Friday. And then Saturday, I got in the gym at 8 o'clock. And every single day throughout that whole entire year that I was in this country, that was my routine. I was in that gym at 6 o'clock every single morning. I ended up doing my first photo shoot in the August. Again, something that I've never done before. It's way out of line for me. It's something that I'd never think of doing, but it's something that I'm extremely proud of looking back. I've kept photos now and I may do another one moving forwards. I don't know. But I found out that she was pregnant in the May, I think it was. And then in the August, in the same text message, I got, just to let you know, the baby's been born early, but the house has been sold. And it was like, wow. So there was a lot to take in 2019, but hand on my heart, I honestly believe that if 2019 was 2020 and COVID happened in 2019, I don't know if I would have made it through, if I'm being completely honest, but because my health was so shot to pieces, like I didn't know whether it was coming or going. I was overweight, as I said. I was just in a bad place, and I really quickly had to turn it around. But because of the work that I did myself in that year, it then enabled me to help and inspire and motivate and talk to so many other people going into 2020. Because by that stage, I was in a good place. Like I was in a really strong place mentally. I'd fixed everything that I needed to fix. I was really comfortable in myself. And I decided that every day I'd do like a morning walk and talk. So every morning, like during lockdown, I'd go out and I'd do the same walk up. We've got a lake about 10 minutes from here, and I'd walk around this lake for 10K. But I'd always do a live video every morning. Sometimes I'd talk about a certain discussion. sometimes I'll just rabbit on about complete and utter shit. But just being able to be a voice for some people made such a difference. And then the other thing that I always did for, I think it was 16 weeks during lockdown, I did it was called Live at 5. So every single evening at 5 o'clock in the evening, I'd go live on Facebook and I'd do a fitness class. And I'd do like a legs, bums and tums. I'd do abs. I'd do resistance bands. But I did that for 16 weeks. And the messages that I received over the course of that was incredible, really, from people saying that you've saved me. I've lost weight. I've kind of come off my medication. I was in such a bad place. So, yeah, it was a challenging period, 2019. But I honestly think that year has kind of built or laid the foundations for me now to kind of push on and just keep going.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've got 1,000,001 questions, but the first thing I'm going to say is, I mean, that's shocking to hear. I know we're not defined by social media numbers, but the 40-odd thousand people that follow you on Instagram probably don't know. Most of them don't know what you've just said.
No, not a clue.
And I'm trying to work through in my mind as you're telling me, like, God, what are people going to think? Like, anyone who listens to this is going to find something out about you that they didn't previously know. I'm going to go for, just like I have sitting here, and you know, you're right. We all do have our own story, and you know, the kind of extreme things that go on behind closed doors, people just are not aware of. And I think perhaps in our job, I don't know if you agree with this, but I don't think privy is the right word, but we are privy to a lot more of that stuff in people's lives than I think the world think we are, because we try and look at the whole holistic approach. And then you've just proven that the coach themselves also has that, but no one really ever knows that.
No. And I said it to someone, I can't remember who I said it to the other week. Like, we're like life coaches. Like,
yeah.
And part of me wishes that I did a life coaching course, because again, like the conversations that I've had with people over the years, like the in-depth conversations that I've had with people that have got absolutely nothing to do with fitness, but just been there for someone to talk to, and I love doing that. You know, I love like being able to make a difference in someone's life. I love being able to kind of tell someone that they're good enough, or for someone to believe that they can do something that they've always been told that they couldn't do. But what frustrates me is that when people use the word lucky with me, and it's like, you've got no idea. Like, you've got absolutely like no idea, like, that I'm and I always, like, now I look at it now and I think to myself, define the word lucky. Like, if you've got a wife, like, I could class you as lucky. Like, if you've got your own children that you get to wake up with every morning, and you get to wake up on Christmas morning and you get to see your kids opening presents, like, I could call you lucky. Like, I went to Bali like last year for 5 weeks on my own over Christmas and New Year, loved it. But you're so lucky. It's like, really?
Yeah. And actually, do you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense now. Like, to me, and this is just my perspective and take on it, but you know, that time of year for you could probably be quite a triggering time, I'd imagine.
It's not the greatest. And it's not been the greatest for a while, because like the previous relationship ended around the same time. So like, I always used to love Christmas, like, and I'm sure that I will love it again. You know, I've got no doubt that I'll love it again. But yeah, for a few years it was tough, and yeah, last year I just needed to get away last year, and like, I loved it. Like, I don't regret a single second of being on my own on Christmas Day in Bali, or being out on New Year's Eve on my own in Bali. Like, I had the most amazing time. But yeah, it's a tough time of year for me, for sure.
Yeah. You know, I'm sure we could talk around this side of things all day, but I'm gonna finish this kind of section with a question then. Good timing by Hyrox Boom then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, ideal. Yeah, I mean, so obviously, you know, anyone who's sort of maybe seen the YouTube stuff from Hyrox themselves, and they talk about that Excel event in 2021. Was that the first one at Excel? I think it was, and there was like 800 people, something like that.
Yeah.
Were you there?
No, do you know that? No. So that was the only one I've missed. That was my first one was Birmingham in the October of that same year.
Right, because this sport, and I think it's in getting the whole unpacked story there. Because at the end of the day, we never wish bad on anyone, and some people say things happen for a reason. Where you are today, it's a difficult question to ask, but it's also a difficult one to answer for you. Where you are today, would you change this?
No.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
And I don't say that with any malice, or I don't, because again, I've always said that like I've never hated like anyone that I've been with before, because I think hate's such a strong word, and I always want everyone to be okay. Like for me to hate someone, I've really got to hate them. So I don't wish anyone bad. Everything happens for a reason, and what will be. But the journey that I'm on right now, and the people that I've got around me right now, I honestly wouldn't swap it for anything. Like I genuinely have got such a burning desire to wake up every single morning and just be the best that I can, whether that's from an athlete or a coaching point of view. And I just look forward to the future. As I said, I've got some amazing people around me, some really special people around me. And so, no, I honestly wouldn't swap it for anything.
Yeah, no. I absolutely hear you. And yeah, I mean, it's surprising when you learn things about people, just how much you realize you might have in common with someone without really realizing. We've stood and chatted at events. You've been to the gym and taken part in a Deca here. We've been in a room enough to have a good chat, but until you tell us that side of things, it's hard to realize what you perhaps have in common with people and those stories. But that'll be a story for another time. So let's go on to you, what you do with your coaching in Hyrox, and the work you're doing with Greg as well. Let's talk about how that all works and what it is for people that you do. And then we're going to move on to ask you about being an athlete. So let's talk about you as a coach. Just tell us a little bit about that and sort of the levels that you're working within Hyrox as well.
Yeah. So again, getting into the sport, the amount of people that turned around to me straight away and said, there's a business for you there. You've got to start coaching. And my initial response was, I don't know anything about it. I can't tell people what to do if I don't know what to do myself. And again, a lot of that goes back to that time in 2019 while I stopped being a personal trainer, because how could I motivate other people if I couldn't motivate myself? And how could I inspire other people when I was finding it hard to inspire myself? So I couldn't coach anyone without coaching myself first. And so I spent I guess it was the first season really, and I looked at a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I read a lot of articles because I wanted to know about the sport. If I was going to kind of go head first into this as an athlete, and I wanted to be the best athlete that I could possibly be myself, I wanted to know the best way of doing it. And so like myself and Greg, we met for the first time. It was in Excel. I think it was November 2022 was the first time that we physically met. And we was having a conversation. And I remember him saying to me, he goes, like, do you know any coaches? Like, I want to try and like set something up with the Rocks Life account. So I reeled off a few names, and he said to me, he goes, what do you do for a job anyway? He goes, I don't even know if you like what you do. I said, oh, I'm a personal trainer. And he said to me, he goes, do you not fancy doing it then? I said, well, can do, yeah. So off the back of that event, we got on a call and we pinged across a few emails and we set up a Zoom, and we launched it in January 2023, I think it was. And it's just been amazing. Like, I've loved every single second of it. Like we've met some incredible people face to face. We've worked with some amazing people through the coaching platform. We've had an amazing amount of success, but Do you know the biggest thing that I love about what we've got is that we cover all bases. And I know, like a lot of coaches out there, they're always told to look for their niche. They're always told to don't kind of spread your wings too like wide, and you should only train men in their 40s, or you should only train pregnant women, or you should only do X, Y, and Z. But for us, this is a sport that's inclusive for everyone. So why would we then close off a group or groups of people for a sport that's inclusive when we can help every single person? So I think our youngest athlete that we've coached is in their late teens, and the oldest, I think, is like high 60s, I'm sure. And these guys they're going to be in Nice next month as well. So yeah, we've covered all ages, shapes, sizes, abilities, and for us, like one of the biggest things that we love doing, and I don't know whether it's, and I don't know, that's why I do travel so much and I do race so much, is that we want to meet these people, because a lot of the times online coaches are robots. Like, people don't hear their voices, let alone see their faces. So for us, every single race that we're at, or I'm at, or Greg's at, we'll have a list of the people that are racing. We'll have their start times, and we'll do our best to go and meet them, whether that's in the warm-up zone, whether that's just standing there watching them on a certain exercise or on a run, and just letting them know we're here. Because for us, it's such an important part for us to kind of know that we are there for them. So yeah, it's just been amazing, and it's to know that it's just the beginning of this. Like, excites both of us like so much. We had a call last night. We don't speak every day. Like, people must think that me and Greg like talk like 5, 6, 7 times a day. I think last night was the first phone call we had since like last Friday, I think, because I was away like last weekend and Greg's busy doing his other stuff. But it works, you know, it really works, and we're having a blast doing it. So long may it continue.
Yeah, no, you're definitely a community that is recognised within the space. You know, people are probably very familiar with the Rocks Life podcast, and you know, I'm a consumer of that as well. You know, between my ultra running podcast that I do and listening to Greg, resulted in me doing this really. So you know, I've been a consumer of that, and you know, lots of your athletes I've met. You know, just you all of a sudden realize that maybe you're like the common denominator between sort of me knowing you and they know you, and you know, you're chatting, you're like, oh, you work with Paul, that makes sense now, and you know, you guys are a known community within the space, and you know, you walk around and you see your community, you'll see Jade's community, you'll see George's community. You know, you can go on, you're starting to get to a point now where you know, you see Lauren and Meg's community, like people are starting to become part of it, you know, Tom and Dina, and it's just, it's quite nice. And I'm not saying this is the same for everyone, but I'm finding it very supportive and constructive across groups. I don't know if you're having the same experience, but I am.
While she was saying that, I was literally just about to say, what I love about this is that everyone gets on.
Yeah.
Like, I get on amazingly well with Lauren. I get on amazingly well with Megan. Myself and Dina have been on Ian Kay's podcast before. I get on really well with Tom, and like, I don't not get on with anyone. And I love the fact that you can, and this is the way it should be as well, by the way. Like, I love the fact that people can just go and talk to people and have a good conversation. There's no like, this is my lot, don't talk to them kind of thing. It's like, right, go and do what you've got to do. Like, go and support whoever you want to support. Go and talk to whoever you want to talk to. Like, this is a sport that everyone wants everyone to do well, like whether or not you're in the elite 15 and racing against each other, or you're going to be on the same start line in the same age group in Nice. Everyone supports everyone with this, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah, no, I completely agree and echo that. And even from this podcast point of view, you know, Greg, Ian, you know, the Hybrid Fitness Racing podcast, all of them, that they are not looking at me coming into this and going, oh, he's trying to like take our spot. That if anything, they're collaborating posts, they're sharing stuff, they're tagging, you know, and it's not this like standoffish competitive world that, to be fair, the fitness industry has been like. I think it has been like that in other parts of the industry.
Outside of Hyrox, like if you look at conventional online coaches, I think it is very different. Like I do think it is very bitchy, very cat and mousey, very protective. Which is why it was a reason that I never went into that side of things. Um, conventional online coaches. I think as long as you're good with software and as long as you're good with a laptop, like you can make a shitload of money as a conventional online coach because everyone gets the same programs. It's all copy and paste. Like I know personal friends that make in excess of 25 to 40, 50 grand a month. And it blows my mind that, there's no aftercare for that. There's no love for that. Great that they're making that money, but how many relationships have they physically got with the people that they're working with?
Yeah. And I think, you've touched on a few things, the people that you meet, the relationships that you form, the places that you get to go to that you probably otherwise wouldn't get to go to. Those things for me are priceless in life.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just me and my values, but I find those priceless. No amount of money that I could earn each month could replace those experiences.
No.
And I love it. I love it for that. And Hyrox has given me that. If anything, I probably just need a bit more money so I can travel a bit more to the places that are doing Hyrox. But that's another conversation. But so let's talk about you as an athlete, because I find it really inspiring what you've said so far. And I did know that I knew a bit about this. You can't follow your Instagram without knowing, where you're at and your mindset and how you're feeling and stuff. You get a lot of that and you're very honest with it, and I like it. But it is inspirational that you wanted to teach yourself first and you wanted to become an athlete in the space at the best version of that person you can be. So you said earlier, I think it was 30, is it 37 you've done, and Nice will be 38?
Yeah, I think, I'm sure it's that.
So give us a little bit of an overview. And the particular show note I've got is that you went to the 2022 World Champs. So forever in history, this one is the one that was the one in Vegas, right?
Yes.
It feels like, for me as a consumer, that in history that one is going to be like the proper first one, if that makes sense. The first proper World Champs that they held.
Yeah, I agree. And I put a post up actually today on my Instagram with the picture. I was there. Funnily enough, it was that one when I was in Vegas. I'd played sport all my life. Like my dad was a very good footballer. Myself and my brother played football all our lives, like from like when we was Beavers and Cubs. My brother went on to play for Brighton for like 5-6 years. I played county level football for probably 10 to 12 years. Retired from football when I was 28, just because I had 2 bad ankle ligament injuries. And at that time, I just started working as a very, very busy personal trainer. So it was unfair of me to kind of be hobbling around on crutches. I was very much like a demonstrator as opposed to, right, do that, do this. I'd always been fit. Like since day one, I was always the person that was into HIIT training. I think I was one of the first 10 people in the UK to get accredited with kettlebells. So I used to work in like a £37 million leisure centre when it first opened. And my personal training sessions were always in a little square. And I'd take a couple of kettlebells, some dumbbells, a step, a mat, and a medicine ball and a stability ball. That was it. I'd do that from day one. And that was how I used to train as well. So I've always said that I've got this like really freakishly good level of fitness where I can train at a very high level for a long period of time. And there was a few years ago, like for charity, I did a 10,000 rep workout. And what I did is I wrote every workout was 1,000 reps. So it was all like a 10 by 10 by 10 exercises, 10 reps, 10 rounds. I think I wrote 5 different workouts and I repeated them twice through. And I think it took me about 6.5 hours to do that. The only time I broke was to go to the toilet. And I looked at my MyZone reading at the end of it, and the average over those 6.5 hours was 79%, which is pretty good going for that. So I've always had that engine, but I'm not a runner. And people watching this now, like hearing those words, like how can he not be a runner when he's done so many Hyroxes? Before Hyrox, I'd only ever done one timed 5K. I'd only ever done one timed 10K. I'd done a marathon, but even training for that, I did 6 runs. Didn't run 6 weeks before the marathon because I didn't really like running. So my freakishly fitness levels got me through everything in life, really. So when I did my first one, I did a doubles, and I wouldn't say it was humbling, but I knew that if I wanted to get good at Hyrox, I needed to start running, because that year of 2021, the only bit of running I did that whole year was the 8.8K in the race. That was it.
By the way, do you think a lot of people experience that?
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. So I struggled to walk out of the building like that day. I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. If I'm hurting now, like, tomorrow's going to be like horrendous. So coming into 2022, I set myself 10 goals every year, like whether that be fitness related, work related, financial, travel, whatever. But one of my goals 2022 was to run 1,000 kilometers in the year. I just thought, right, if I'm going to do this, let's go for it. And I did it. And I think like during the course of that calendar year, I think I raced like 16 or 17 times. But going back to like the original question about Vegas for me was surreal, to the point that I don't think I let it sink in like what it was. And I still don't think to this day now that it sunk in of what it was. Because you kind of go out there and it's Vegas, and you kind of get out there and it's like, oh my God, I'm in Vegas. And because I'd been to Vegas before, that side of it wasn't new for me. But the kind of one thing that I'll never forget was the Friday night of the opening ceremony, and we're around this kind of the grid format, I guess. And there was like a stand like that end and then a long stand this end. Well, this bit here was all United States. And the national anthem started playing, and everyone kind of just went like that and looked. And at the same time, every single person that was in that stand was like that at the same time, belting out the national anthem. And it's like, shit, this is real. Like, this is serious. So, yeah, it was amazing.
Which, by the way, I don't remember that happening in Manchester in 23.
No.
No, I don't remember that. The national anthem was played, to be fair.
Yeah. But I think because it was bigger, but the stands weren't big enough to kind of house countries because in Vegas, everyone was in their own countries. You knew exactly where everyone was in their countries. So Manchester was very different. But it was a very, very amazing experience. And it's one that I never take for granted. Like, even though, like I've said it, I don't think it has sunk in, and I don't think any of this has really sunk in yet. Like, even when we broke the world record in London last year, like, I don't think that's sunk in. I think I'm just on this ongoing journey at the moment, and because I don't give myself time to kind of digest anything, it's all been 100 miles an hour. But like, I take nothing for granted. Like, I love the way that my body's reacted. I'm very grateful for my body for letting me race the way that I've raced. I love like racing with the different people that I've raced this season. And it's been the most successful season that I've had to date, like by far, like PBs in the mixed doubles, men's doubles, singles, 10 podiums out of my 16 races. 8 of those have been good enough to qualify for the Worlds. And like, I can say all this, like, with everything else that's gone on in my past. I've had 2 knee operations, I've torn a calf, and life's a battle. So,
and I think that's really important. That's really important. That is, that it's a battle. Go on, carry on, because I think you might be saying what I'm thinking. Go on.
I was just going to say, like, there will be people that listen to this, and there will be people that watch me on social media, and it's all right for you because like you're fit, and it's all right for you because you can run. It's all right for you. But I've had to learn to run. I've had to kind of learn to kind of stop drinking so much and get myself in a good place. And the thing
don't forget the part that you're lucky as well, right?
Yeah, but that don't even need to talk about that because that's just a given now. I am just lucky. the thing that excites me the most is that I know this, that I can still go so much more. Like I can still give so much more to this sport from an athlete point of view.
Yeah, and that's got to be exciting, right?
Yeah, it excites the crap out of me, if I'm being honest. Like I'm looking forward to Nice. Don't get me wrong. Like I am looking forward to Nice, but rather than having like two eyes firmly focused on the prize in Nice, I'm like that now. Like I'm looking forward to next season. I'm planning my assault on next season. I've got the numbers in my head what I want to achieve next season, and I do believe that I can be up there with the best in my age group. I really do.
You know, we're both clearly from a football background, and you know, we grew up in a world where Man United were massive and they listened to sports science, and Roy Keane was like hungry to keep winning and all of this. I've got to be honest, from my perspective, Hyrox is showing me that more than football showed me that. I feel like hungry. I
Yeah,
feel excited for it. I feel like what is the level that I could hit?
yeah,
You know, where and at football, just like you know, played a decent level and love football and all of that, still do to this day as a spectator and a fan. But actually, do you sound excited? You sound like there's a fire in the belly that just makes you want to. You're up in the morning and you're ready.
I'm pumped. Like there's a lot going on at the moment in the background that I can't share because I can't share it. But there's a lot going on at the moment. There's been some like real kind of monumental weekends this weekend. Like Vienna for me will always be the standout weekend for so many reasons. But one thing that I do love about Hyrox is that data. Like I know what I need to do to get my numbers down, and I know we can't compare courses anymore, but having that data for me now is like gold dust. And as I said, like I'm genuinely excited to kind of close out the season. It's probably the longest break that I've got between races now. Even Tim said to me the other day, he goes, "Oh my God," he goes, "You've actually got 3 weeks where we can actually train for 3 weeks solid where you're not racing." So yeah, I'm going to go there. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to love it. I'm going to lap it up. I'm going to be around amazing people all weekend. But then it's a case of right, let's come away from the noise. Let's take a back step and let's kind of get my head down and get busy. And just
Yeah, no, I'm gonna echo those words in terms of that excitement for Nice. I am a bit like, to coin a phrase, and appreciate that it's not your favorite time at the moment, but like a kid at Christmas.
yeah,
I can't explain to someone who doesn't understand my excitement. And the
no,
truth is part of that is we turned up last year to Manchester because of Carol. And it was 3 weeks after she did her first Hyrox, and we've turned up to the world champs and we knew nothing. And we're literally standing next to like Lauren and Meg and Hunter. And we kind of know who Hunter was, but we didn't know who Meg and Lauren were. And we didn't know who Linda was. And Carol ended up racing Linda's mum, and me and Linda had a good chat. And it was just like, I don't take it for granted that I saw it and that I was there, but I had no concept of the level that people were already putting into this sport.
yeah,
And now I'm going to appreciate every moment in Nice because I'm feeling that pump and that excitement. And I'm not there to be racing. I haven't worked hard enough yet, but I'm going to be there as a coach and as a podcaster and as a fan of the sport. And everything you're saying about the excitement, I can just echo that. It's a real privilege to be there. Like it's going to be a great moment, and there's so many from the gym that would love to come with us, and I'm going to, you know, I don't know if this is fair to everyone, but I'm going to soak it up and
yeah.
enjoy everything like a sponge.
I think you've got to. And again, I think I'm starting to realise like the importance of how big this is just by how big the sport's becoming globally. Because in Vegas there was like 1,200 people there. Manchester was double that. I think Nice there's like 3,500 athletes going to be there. I can't see it being too many more years where at the World Championships we're looking at 10,000 people because 500,000 people race in any given season, and I can see there being multiple races on multiple weekends, literally 12 months of the year. I can see the Christmas weekend and New Year's weekend being the only 2 weekends that are not taken up with a race, because I love the fact that Christian backs up what he says. I love the fact that the corporate team are so like finely tuned on what they want to do with this and where they're going with this, and it's just grown so quickly but also so successfully, and it's something that I just want to be a part of, and I'm kind of like just riding along and just enjoying every single second of it right now.
Yeah, no, completely echo it. So just a quick word on the elite side of the sport. I think my perception of triathlon over the years, taking part in that, and the football world has kind of shown it. I feel the importance of the elite level is really important to allow the grassroots to develop.
Yeah.
I just wondered what your thoughts are on sort of where that's got to, how it works, working within it. How do you feel about it all? Do you enjoy it?
What the elite side of things?
The elite side of it, yeah. The elite 15 side.
Do you know what? I said at the beginning, like I've made like a lot of great friendships through like this sport. Some of the strongest friendships that I've got are with elite 15 athletes. Tim and Sandy are probably two of my best friends in the world now, like let alone in the sport. Dylan Scott is another one that I've got a lot of time for, but has also got a lot of time for me. Alex is a fantastic guy. John Wynn's helped me a lot over the years. And then on the female side of it, like Lauren Weeks and I speak regularly. Myself and Meg have always got on really well since her first race. Myself and Linda have always got on really well. So I love the fact that, and again, this is how it should be. I'm no different to them. Like you're no different to them. Everyone else is no different to them. They're just a little bit faster than us. So that doesn't make them any different apart from the fact they're better athletes. So I love the fact that the level's been raised. I love the fact that the times are coming down and they'll continue to come down. And what's going to be interesting to see over the next 3 to 5 years is who in the Elite 15 now is still there in 3 years' time, and what kind of times people are going to need to get to be part of it.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's sports science, data.
Yeah.
Like you guys, what you guys are doing, really, the way you and Greg work, that stuff and sports science to me just fascinates me. And I think I feel quite passionately that in this sort of 18 months where I've been involved, that what we were doing 18 months ago for training and what we're doing now aren't really the same thing anymore. And actually beyond that, because of sports science and, call it athlete profiling, if you want to call it that, they're only just really coming in now, the right people for the sport is that's my kind of overview. But I don't know, what do you think? What do you and Greg talk about? Do you talk about this idea of certain athletes from other areas coming into this and doing it? I mean, Anaheim, as we're recording this will be out after, because it's out on Sunday, but America, this last chance qualifier, two of the CrossFit's best are in there, and one of them's from a track and field background. Like, what's going to happen with that? Who knows? We'll know by the time this is out. When people are listening, they'll know what happened. But yeah, go on.
But
Any thoughts?
This is what makes it so interesting. There's people that will be racing in Anaheim that no one's ever heard of before, that as soon as this whole Lance Chance qualifier got released, they would have been in the lab, they would have been speaking to everyone, and they would have been training specifically for this race. And after one race, they could be part of this Elite 15. It blows my mind, to be honest. And as I said, like going forwards, it'll be really interesting to see where the guys that are in the Elite 15 now are there next year, because I can see this being completely different. I can see once like triathletes come into this, and once like other endurance-based athletes come into this, I think it's going to completely mix things up. I mean, what will it be interesting as well is how they're going to change the Elite Series and how that's going to work, because obviously, like with Australia and the APAC region growing, there's going to have to be some races over there. Will they keep it to Elite 15? Will they roll it down to Elite 20 or Elite 25? The stipulations to actually get into these like Elite 15 races now as well. it's never going to please everyone. But again, what's exciting for us that's not in it is how this does play out.
I think, you mentioned Christian a few minutes ago, and I think an observation for me is, and I hate Facebook and how some people talk about the sport because I think it's really disrespectful, but the way I think Christian and Hyrox and the hierarchy and Mo, the way that they learn and how fast they learn, it's frightening. You turn up on a Saturday to Hyrox XL, and by Sunday they've changed the entrance to the exit to the finish line because of people sort of bottlenecking. I mean, from that to Elite 15 to whatever, I think they learn really fast. And I know that's just an opinion, but I think they learn so fast, and it's really beneficial to the sport. If you see something, deal with it, and they do. And I think they deserve a lot of credit and respect for that.
Yeah, I agree, and that goes for every the work that the UK corporate team does as well. I think that does go unnoticed quite a lot because again, because I've been involved with it since pretty much day one. They're a small group, they're a really, really small group that's grown quite a bit over the last couple of years. But I think there's still only 8 of them. I remember Amber was doing three or four people's jobs at the beginning. So I think the global management team deserve a lot of credit, but again, I think our UK team do deserve a lot of credit because again, I don't get involved with anything on social media, but they do get a lot of shit and unnecessary stuff because it's out of their control. I just think
I agree.
For their own success, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, and I kind of had a couple more quick fire ones for you, but you kind of touched on Hyrox travel. You've done that really already. We've covered that, but just a small word on Hyrox travel and what you got out of it.
If you've never done it, do it. I love the UK events because I get to see everyone. And I love the weekends. London was great. It was very tiring. It was very busy, but it was 3 days of kind of meeting people and talking to people and whatever else. But I love going away, whether it's America or Europe or wherever it could be, like South Africa, Asia, Australia, wherever. It just gives you the chance to go away and just enjoy quality time with quality people, on a smaller basis. You get the chance to just have proper conversations away from the noise. And as I said, Vienna for me was fantastic. Washington was brilliant because for that it was myself and Greg had a really good few days of just kind of sightseeing, catching up, talking, because again, we're always on the go, so we don't get the opportunity to have some time out like that. Stockholm was great as well. I got to spend some quality time with Sandy and Tim and Hunter. And then Malmo was great because it was me, Sandy and Dylan. So again, three people that live in 3 different countries that have all come together that shared a weekend because of Hyrox.
Well, there you go. And I think, if Christian and Mo could hear this sort of stuff, I think, they've probably achieved way more than they set out to achieve, because things like that are just priceless and you can't put money on that and you can't put any sort of label to that. In my opinion, it's very much, something that the sport has already achieved, and they probably, it's probably achieving things that they never thought it would. So, go on then. We're going to kind of wrap it up, but this one always is a sort of regular question. It's around 3 top tips around Hyrox, but let's go for yours to be, what are your 3 top tips for somebody who wants to improve their Hyrox?
If they've already done one.
Yes, so they're already doing this sport, because normally I'd say getting into, but let's go for, they're already in the sport. They're already in the sport. I'll put you on the spot.
They've already done it. I'm gonna plug the highresult.com website. So I'd get them to go on that, and I'd get them to look at their past results, because on that, if you've done more than one, you can compare 2 races. So I'd definitely go on that. I'd look at the split times. I'd look at the percentages of where they are in each different element. I'd look at the running. I'd look at everything. That would be one tip. Number 2 would be to kind of drown out the noise of what other people are doing. Because it's that whole run your own race, stay in your own lane, don't worry about what anyone else is doing next to you, in front of you, whatever. So stay focused on what you're doing and stay focused on what's important to you. And then the third one, be hungry. You know, if you want it, like, how much do you want it? Like, how much, like, how important is it? And something that I talk about a lot in the fitness industry, for such a small word, like the word why means so much. And like the reason that I kind of talk about, and I do talk about that word so much, is when I was active in the fitness industry in the leisure centre, we used to do like programs, and one of the questions was like, what brings you to, what are your reasons for joining the gym? And every single person, 9 out of 10 people would always say get fit and lose weight. And most people would write that down, get fit, lose weight, get fit, lose weight. But I would always kind of go into like, why do you want to get fit and why do you want to lose weight? And I think it's not until you kind of get that 3 or 4 levels deep where something hits you in here. And normally, I know this is going to sound quite warped, but normally that leads to kind of like injury, illness, or death. Like, I want to get fit because I want to be able to play with my kids, or I want to be able to see my grandkids grow up, or I want to be able to go and run a marathon because I lost a best friend through cancer, or something along those lines. So I think that if you've got a reason, what is your reason? And it's that whole, like, your why should make you cry. So really, really think about the reason why you want to achieve a better result next time. And when you find that reason, if it's 3 or 4 levels deep, like, that's what you need to hold on to make it happen.
Love it. That is gold dust. That is, anyone listening, that is quality advice, because those the high results, by the way, not wrong. I mean, that's been like life changing in this sport, because you know, we're all sitting there before with spreadsheets and trying to put it all in and whatever, and it was quite hard to extract the data and whatever. But actually, do you know what? High results is cool. Awesome. Thanks for that, Paul. So anyone who's listened to this today that doesn't already know you or follow you, where can they find out about you? What you know, what else is there out there on you?
Not a lot, to be honest. I'm on Facebook, but I don't really use Facebook a lot now, to be honest. So Instagram, it's just like my full name _ not on TikTok, not on Snapchat, not on LinkedIn. So yeah, Instagram is the easiest way to kind of get me. And yeah, if you need help, shoot me a message.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much for coming on, Paul. It's I've learned a lot. There's a lot that I didn't know, and you know, there's a story there that you've told, and I said to you, I didn't know your story. Why not come and tell it? And I think you've done that, and a lot more makes sense to me now. And you know, it's great to be able to put some stuff together that you see on social and go, okay, you know, and it's been a pleasure talking to you, mate, because that was very insightful as well, in terms of your thoughts on the elite side, the coaching of the everyday athlete, the inclusivity, the growth of the sport. You know, I think there's a lot in there, and hopefully a lot of people listening have got a lot out of it. So thanks very much.
No, like I said at the beginning, I really appreciate coming on, and hopefully like it can help people and people can resonate with it as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's part of the reason I started the podcast as well, to try and tell the real life stories, that it's not all about the competition side. You know, there's a lot of real life stories from out there that can help inspire those people that are looking to get off the sofa even, or trying to get into the sport. So, you know, hearing your version's been awesome. But yeah, thanks very much. So everyone who's listening or watching, thanks so much for your time and taking the time to listen. As always, if you could like, subscribe, comment and share, you'll be surprised how much of a difference that can make. We're all sort of volunteering on this side of things. This is all for passion and love. And if you are listening to the work that we're doing, it would be great to hear those comments on it, because it certainly helps us. Me and my mate Tatey were just talking the other day about sort of the emotion in this sport. And he was talking about, you know, how he had a moment at Excel, and we love this emotion, and so does Paul and the previous guests. They've been great so far. So do share this, do like it, and I hope that we can meet here again to talk more on the rocks.